The purpose of this video is to acquaint you with some of the features of a Windows tablet. Windows tablets are a little bit different from iPads and other types of tablets, particularly with respect to their use of the stylus and the new Windows 8 interface. So if you haven't used a Windows tablet before, you may find some of the material in this video useful. If not, feel free to skip it. So what we're going to cover in this video first is the stylus interface, which is like a mouse, but a little different because you need to figure out how to do left and right clicks, and also it is a very powerful drawing tool. We will then cover OneNote, which is one of my favorite packages for the tablet. It's a wonderful note-taking tool, and it does things like handwriting recognition and makes it very easy to write. And then we'll talk about the three capabilities that I particularly like in a tablet: the ability to read in portrait mode, the ability to do things like annotate homework assignments, and the ability to draw online. All of these are very, very nice features, particularly if you're going to be doing online instruction.
So now what I'd like to do is go over a few tablet basics. The first thing to understand is that when you're using a Windows 8.1 tablet, you have essentially all the same capabilities that you would have with a normal computer. For example, right now I'm using a mouse to move around. But you have a whole bunch of additional capabilities that are definitely worth mentioning. And one of the most important things that you can do with a tablet is use the pen. If you'll notice, the cursor has changed now, and that is because I'm hovering the pen above the tablet. Now, this is something you can't do with an iPad or your cell phone or something, but the Windows tablet has a capacitive display that will detect specific pens. And so if you've got the right kind of pen, you can basically use the pen to get very, very fine control, much more control over your than you get with your finger. I am not touching the screen right now. I am just hovering above it. Now, you can use the pen like a mouse. So a single click is just like a regular mouse click. If you hold the pen down for a couple of seconds, what happens is you get the equivalent of a right click. So I'm holding it down now, and that's the equivalent of a right click. And you'll notice it brings up the right click menu. I've got Camtasia set so that it actually highlights the clicks. I think red for a regular click and blue for a right click. So that using the pen, especially say when you've got the tablet in your lap, is a lot less cumbersome than using using a mouse. When you hover the tablet over in the corner here, you can get the Charms menu that allows you to do things like adapt settings and so forth. The big thing about the pen is it's a special pen. It will not, the type of pens that you get with iPads that are basically substitutes for your fingers are different from these pens. And you can buy replacements if you wreck one. And what I've found is most of the old Windows tablets I had, not these slates, but the actual convertible tablets, the pens for those work for the most part on these machines as well. So anyone who has hung around with me at all knows that I am a huge fan of Windows tablets. And in fact, I've been using Windows tablets since 2002, at a time when people mainly made fun of Windows tablets. But this new generation of Windows tablets has moved all the capabilities that I loved up a notch. But what I'd like to do right now is just illustrate the three things that I really like about Windows tablets. And to do this, the first thing I'm going to do is I am going to go into OneNote. So I'll press my Start button, and then I will open up OneNote. And OneNote is this Microsoft application that essentially allows you to take notes. I store all my OneNotes on the cloud, so I have them access to them all the time. I go into draw mode most of the time, and I can easily write things. And of course, I can select them and delete them. And OneNote basically saves as you go along, so you don't have to worry about that. It's beautifully enabled for the pen. You can record what you're doing, of course, if you want to do, say, a lesson that involves equations that are very hard to type out. You can, of course, do things like use a highlighter. But it also has some other nice features, one of which is that you can actually search your handwritten text. And it's not perfect, but it does a reasonably good job. So, for example, if I wanted to, say, select this area here, showing my kind of lousy handwriting. Oops, I didn't quite get that right click there. Do a right click. We'll try and ink to text and just see what happens. You know, it's not perfect. Apparently it also got the highlight. We'll get rid of that highlight. But it got overview right, it got complexity right, and instead of getting text, it had gelting text. But I could certainly, if I right-click that, it probably will give me getting. And now, apparently I didn't quite get the selection there. I got gelding. All right, oops. Well, you get the idea. I am... it's a little hard to do this with the notes, but of course I can also come in here and go into text mode and edit things. So I would go over type here, then I would go over and edit this thing, or maybe not. Well, we're not going to worry about that because I virtually never use text mode, so I'm just going to go back and keep clicking undo until it shows up. But the thing is, I can actually, with this program, I can actually do a search and it will go through all my notes and look for, convert my handwriting and look for specialized text. So whenever I'm in a meeting, for example, I find it much, much less invasive when I have my tablet out and I am writing, as opposed to sitting there and typing to take notes. It has a full file system, so you can see I have a whole bunch of different notes for courses and so forth. You can set up separate folders. You can force synchronization. You can get it to link with all sorts of devices. I can look at all my notes, for example, on my Android cell phone, connected through my Microsoft account. And so this is actually a very, very nice program. And right now I'm illustrating it in landscape mode because things get really funky when I start to do screen recordings in portrait mode. But normally, well, as you can see, there's lots of space here on the right. That's because normally when I'm writing, I'm in portrait mode and just the way I would write on a normal piece of paper. This brings me to the second capability of tablets, which I really like, that is the ability to read. And so what I'm going to do here is come over, and I'll just open an arbitrary Acrobat document. I'll just choose this. I think this is the receipt for my Camtasia purchase from the USF Computer Store. And normally when I read, I will shift to portrait mode. I won't do that here because it will get a little funky when I record the screen and shift modes. But The point is that you can read in portrait mode very easily. I keep PDF files of all the research that I reference, which of course is very easy to do because you can download them from the library. And I actually read them on the screen in portrait mode on my lap, which is very convenient. Now, another thing that I can do is when I'm reading stuff, just as I would with paper, I can put comments on it. And so what I will do here is I will come over here, I'll go to comment, drawing markup. Let's just open that one up. Select a pen. And now, for example, I can draw things like this is the license number that I would need for my Camtasia installation. And that means I can write notes on the research. And I can also use this when I am grading in Canvas, because Canvas gives me the ability to use the pen. And so if I want to write detailed comments on a student paper, the Crocodoc feature of Canvas, the speed grader, allows me to actually write the comments handwritten. And with a tablet pen, you can write these reasonably well. Which of course leads me to the third capability that I particularly like about tablets, which is the ability to use these things in tools like Illuminate, or as it's now known, Blackboard Collaborate, to write on the whiteboard. And similarly, I can do things like I can bring up a whiteboard in PowerPoint and write on it. It's really hard to write with your fingers with like an iPad, but when you actually are used to using the pen, it becomes relatively easy. And these are all features that are like custom made for researchers and instructors.